Welcome to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock, who is the co-founder of videosocials.net and of videointerviewpodcast.com. In every episode, Mark interviews business and organizational thought leaders who share their stories of how they inspire others by making a difference. You can find this show on videosocials.net and YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and almost any podcast platform of your choosing.
Welcome, and I am delighted today because my guest is a friend and client, Lauren Logan. Now, Lauren is an executive business coach who helps clients achieve their dearest goals, surmount insurmountable obstacles, gain confidence, increase self-awareness and revenue, find better life balance, and change careers. If you dream it, we can help make it happen, is kind of their logo. Welcome, Lauren. It's lovely to have you.
It's so great being here with you, Mark.
Terrific. I've been doing this, I don't know, 35 or 40 times or so that I've met with people. We have many clients and members that we get to know really well because we're recording videos with each other, on a weekly basis. And it never ceases to amaze me because I don't know if you know, I'm also a business and executive coach, and that was my training some 12, 15 years ago, something like that. And on the one hand, I often say that I don't really coach anymore, at least private coaching with individuals. I just don't have time. I'm running 3 services through a company and staff and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is that I'm coaching all day, every day, and I'm being coached by my clients and members, and et cetera, all day, every day.
Yes, that's so true.
But I know that you've had several successful careers, and I always like to start with, what's your story? Because it is your story. It is all of the successes and failures that each of us has that we bring to the table as, the gray hair start to show up, et cetera, at this stage of our life. But what in your background do you think helps you bring to the table what your clients need?
I do have a varied background. I was, as a little girl, my first dream was to be a professional ballet dancer.
Oh, wow.
I pursued that dream until I was something like 15 or 16, when all of a sudden the light bulb, I guess, went on, and I discovered, oh my gosh, I'm in high school. There's such a thing as boys. There are other activities. I was in these 8 classes a week. I was performing with a local ballet company, and it was a very intensive life for a little girl. But I realized at that point I was not going to become the prima ballerina of the New York City Ballet. And with that realization, all those other attractions became ever so much more attractive. And so I went into my second love, and that was fashion. And it was not the fashion design, the haute couture, it was the rough and tumble volume of the fashion business. And I started off on the buying side, did that for about 8 years, and was sent to places all over the world to buy goods for local stores. And then went on the sales side and represented a young men's and boys casual sportswear company and sold oodles and oodles of goods to major department stores. Macy's was my biggest customer. Mm-hmm. And I had a number of multi-million-dollar orders. And that was a great and wonderful career from which I really thought I would probably retire. Mm-hmm. And then my church asked me to chair a phase of its capital campaign. And one day on the way back from reporting at the pastor's office that we had approached the Bullocks, and their dream was to support this kind of ministry. And they were thinking about this size of gift and how could we make it a bigger gift, and could we do this? Mm-hmm. And I'm going back to Speedo. I happened to be representing Speedo at the time, the swimwear people. And I'm thinking, this is what I do at Speedo. I am forecasting all day long what color of roofer short Macy's is going to buy the most of next year, and how to approach. And so, anyway, we had a wonderful consultant who very much supported the idea of me transferring my sales and marketing skills to the world of professional fundraising for nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
And then he, he shot the arrow into the heart and said, "This is what it's going to mean to you financially. I am single. I live in New York City." And as soon as he said what this would be for your salary, I was like, "Oh, great idea. No." So a year later, same consultant happens to call me up and says, "Oh, there's an interesting position with a very large church, about 4 times my church's size. And they want to have an in-house person. You want me to put your name in the hat?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'd forgotten all about what he said to me about the finances. And miracle of miracles, many interviews later, they chose me over seasoned development people. Professional fundraising is called development.
Mm-hmm.
To lead this campaign. And 4.5 years later, the church had raised nearly 30 million, which for a religious institution,
Wow.
even in New York City, is a large amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to raise money with Columbia University Medical Center, primarily their diabetes center. And then for Village Care, which is a social services agency that has been around forever. And it was when I was finished with that and I was looking for my next in-house opportunity that I came across the idea of executive coaching. And the idea that I could marry my business skills and my not-for-profit skills and actually help people in both sectors
Mm-hmm.
further themselves and their careers was dramatically appealing to me. Of course, being my third career, I felt the need to, and as you probably know, I'm sure you know, the coaching is the wild, wild west. I mean, I can tell you today I'm a coach, and I'm a coach. I felt the need to be certified as an
Mm-hmm.
executive business coach. So I went through a certification program that had been approved by the International Coaching Federation
Mm-hmm.
and went through the practice period and all that sort of thing. And I've been coaching now for 5 years, and I have loved it.
It's absolutely awesome. And mentioning the Wild West is when I first started coaching, and really before even getting involved with my business partner Vikram Rajan and what ultimately became Practice Marketing and the services that we provide, I was trying to strike out and sell myself as a business and executive coach. And so many people were just so tied up with what does that mean? What is the difference between coaching and consulting and counseling, therapy, et cetera, et cetera. And we started what we called Practice Marketing Advisors. And we deliberately chose the word because it's ambiguous, because I didn't care. Call it coaching, call it consulting, call it whatever. I was not a purist. If somebody wanted an answer, I was happy to provide it for them. If somebody wanted to have me draw the answer out of them, well, then I was happy to coach them to that point. But it in my mind, it really doesn't matter. Coaching is coaching, which basically means that you're having conversations that help you move forward. That's my take on it. But I know that you've also, like all of us have dealt with significant loss and major obstacles in life, and how have those obstacles allowed you to really help clients overcome their own significant losses and major obstacles in life?
I think the first significant losses I would that have played a role in who I am, who I've
Mm-hmm.
become, have been deaths of either immediate family or people very, very close to me.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't like to, in fact, we pretty much hate talking about death, but having someone who you so love and respect and wanting to figure out how to honor that person once they're gone, or how to live into being the kind of person that your past loved one thought you were, is a challenge. And sometimes we wrestle a lot with a direction that we think we're heading, and then we look at our memory books, and we look at our past, and we think of our loved one, and we think, oh my gosh, they would not have understood that.
Right.
And some of those times we simply have to go forward with what we are currently called to do.
Right.
And there are other times when that particular loss can really inform us and set us back on our path, the path that we actually are supposed to be on. I more recently, within the last 2 years, had a kind of miraculous medical discovery in my
Mm.
life that led to a life-changing surgery and months and months of hospitalization and rehab,
Mm-hmm.
and have been back home for about a year now, and it's something that I could never have anticipated. I
Right.
had no symptoms of. It was discovered on a blood test, and it was just the way things unfolded were, as I look back on them, rather miraculous. And I know there are other people out there, I hear of them on occasion, who have loved ones facing such a life-changing situation, and I would, in fact, a little bit, I feel called to, if there's a way that I can be of service to them
Mm-hmm.
and provide a sounding board, because there are times when we either, for professional reasons, we don't want to share that we are hurt in any way, because we have a professional face that we want to show the world, and that's okay. That's okay. But sometimes we even have a little bit of a brave face that we want to show our family or our
Mm-hmm.
friends, or
Yep.
um, but we don't feel that way. And
Right.
that's a wonderful time to consider getting an outside opinion. I have one. I am coached, and I must tell you that there have just been times within the last 2 years that just getting that breath of fresh air, having someone ask me a question of, "Well, Lauren, why did you say that?" Or "What were you thinking?" Or "Where do you think that's leading you?" The question, whatever it was, opened up a new door for me. That to me is good coaching.
Absolutely. And you kind of alluded to something that I have found. Uh, First of all, so my coach and mentor, started working with him 20 something years ago, 25 years ago, something like that. Um, and I would say that the process of getting coaching was pivotal in any level of success that I've had in business. But the reason that I bring that up is that when I trained as a business and executive coach, and started out in that, I don't know why, but I didn't anticipate how much life coaching was underneath it all. It is the basis, because we are not just intellectual, we are, and not just physical, we are emotional, we are spiritual. It's just all part of our human being. And my coach asked me a question years ago, which was, what is life except for a series of relationships? And what are relationships other than a series of conversations? So along those lines, you can easily surmise that from a certain perspective, life is a series of conversations. right? So what is a coaching conversation? It's a conversation that helps you move forward. And sometimes there's some introspection. Sometimes there's looking back. But without those conversations, we end up stuck with looking back and allowing what's happened in the past to direct what we're going to be moving forward, far more so, and with our unconscious mind basically running a racket on us, telling us that we've got to be, this because we've always been that, right? And so I encourage you, even nobody does it alone. You however you would define success, whether that be in business, whether that be in life, whether that be in relationships, etc. That has come out of conversations with others. That has come out of sharing and engaging and looking at yourself and others through various perspectives. So so for me, it's like coaching is like the hidden gem of that unlocks, the key that unlocks our potential as human beings. It's been that experience for me, and I'm told by those that I've coached directly, indirectly, in private settings, in group settings for the last 15 years or so, that it's been that for those that I've worked with as well. So I know that you've also had that experience. But one of the things that we're doing here today and having this conversation is that we're sharing a conversation with our respective audiences, with those that know, like, and trust us, and those that are trying to get to know, like, and trust us over time. And one of the services, which is the sponsor of this show, that has made that possible, is Video Socials. And I often say, look, public speaking for me was just a nightmare. 35 years ago, I joined Toastmasters, gave my first speech, and had an anxiety attack and thought I was going to pass out. And a year later, much practice, and I was, I had gotten certified, as it were, as public speaking, and I was the president of the club, and we launched 2 other clubs in the process. Fast forward 30-something years later, we developed the concept of Video Socials, and my first couple of times on camera, it was the same level of anxiety. It was like, I'm very comfortable public speaking, and it took me a while to realize that talking to this inanimate object called a camera, that doesn't do it. You've got to talk to an audience. You've got to talk to people. You've got to talk to others. And so we developed Video Socials as a community, as we get together in small groups, and we in video conferences, and we take turns recording our videos, giving each other feedback, giving each other support, giving each other encouragement, coaching, and and it works. But you've been a member for some time. Of course, you had to take a hiatus to deal with your medical challenges, and I'm so delighted to have you back. But what do you see Video Socials as, and how are you utilizing it in your practice?
Video Socials allows me to give potential clients a feel for what it might be like to work with me. That's why I generally pick a word or a rather simplified topic and talk on it for a short while, because it will, it may light up something inside the potential recipient of it. I've liked doing, though I haven't done them recently, I've really enjoyed doing the video newsletters that are one of the services that Video Socials provides. But both with my first involvement and now that I'm back, I somehow found, or was directed to find, 2 great clubs. And they consisted of people that I really look forward to talking with every week. And I can't wait to hear their next story, or their next business issue, or their next legal issue that they want to bring forward. And it is through these conversations, through these 1.5 to 2 minute to 3 minute videos, we get to know people very well and care about them. And that is, I think, very unusual.
And everyone that's involved is a contribution to everyone else that's involved. And I like the way that you put it, that we end up looking forward. We didn't design it as a network per se, but some of the most amazing networking I've ever seen happens because we do really get to know each other. We're all doing something that doesn't come natural. So talking to a camera and having a conversation with an audience that's not there is not. It's not. Wasn't on the top of my list anyway. And but the realization and having that support, that engagement of a room full of other people that we're getting to know, we're getting to like, we're getting to trust, and we're learning from, because we learn from each other, which is really the secret to video socials for me is that it's an experiential learning environment. We learn by doing. So rather than talking about what it takes to make a great video, we do it and take a shot at it and are willing to practice and are willing to, okay, well, this one didn't turn out. Let's toss that one aside and try again. But it doesn't take too many of those before you've got something that's really good and really, really reaches people. So thank you for your involvement. Thank you for coming back. And because we're delighted to have you, and you're a cherished member. We really appreciate it. But folks, if you have an interest in doing videos for your marketing, for your websites, for your social media, etc., and you're not comfortable having a conversation with an inanimate object called a camera, we'd love to have you as a guest on Video Socials. Just go to videosocials.net and click the guest button at the top of the screen. So we could literally go on all day, Lauren, but I did kind of want to wrap up with what would be the one piece of encouragement that if you were able to give to a potential client or client, what would that be?
The one piece of encouragement and the one element that every single one of my coaching clients has we've ended our engagements with is a dramatic increase in self-confidence. So I would recommend to you that if you're in a situation where there are very few situations that you could mention to me that wouldn't have a benefit of your having greater confidence. So if you don't think you can gain that on your own, I know for me personally, that's really hard to do. And if your family or close-knit circle is not able to give that to you at this moment, this is an opportunity that I wouldn't even say treat yourself. It's almost like an essential thing that really benefit your business and your life going forward. And that's one thing that a coach will very likely give you.
And if I can kind of expand on that to touch on something that you talked about, a family member, et cetera. And I think a lot of us may lean on or depend on a spouse or a close family member for these conversations that might help us move forward. And that's essential. That's I would not want to take anything away from that. Been married for 30 blah, blah, blah years. And
congratulations.
Thank you. But approaching 40 actually. But the thing to keep in mind is that spouse or family member has their own vested interest in who you are. It may be financial, it may be in supporting them, et cetera. So they may not be able to be as neutral, as unattached to having whatever outcome that is going to work best for you be on the forefront, right? Even if they're wonderful people, you know, a spouse that's dependent on your income is not necessarily the best person to ask you the right questions and give you really robust guidance in what your next business decision might need to be, because they may be consciously or unconsciously tied to, but you can't take a pay loss, can't take a risk, can't take it, most entrepreneurs have a high tolerance for risk. But I think in many cases, many of our spouses are not so tolerant of that risk, right?
Well, they always say opposites attract, right?
Yes. So I know in my life, there's times that I really needed coaching because I was taking risks that I didn't even realize I was taking. And I've gotten bit, and I've also taken risks, practice marketing, phone blogger, video socials, video interview podcast. All of our services were all a risk, right? Sure. And still are, but you're not going to move forward in life if you're not managing that risk. If you're not willing to, make sure that you have the foundations, make sure that you have the safety nets, make sure that you have the right support, the right conversations, the right staffing, et cetera. But you're not going to get anywhere if you're just playing status quo, right? So that's where coaching really, I think, comes into play. So being willing to have that third party, hopefully somebody that's got years of experience in business, maybe not necessarily in a specific industry that's exactly your industry. That almost doesn't matter. What matters is this, what mindset you need to bring, what baggage you need to let go of, what goals and aspirations you want to clarify and get connected to help motivate you and pull you forward. And here I am having a sales conversation about coaching, but I love what you do. I don't do individual, coaching anymore myself. I would certainly recommend you for anyone that was looking for and wanting to do that, though. So I love having you as a resource for anybody that I would want to refer to. And again, folks, as far as connecting with Lauren, her links are all going to be associated with however you're consuming this interview, whether it be YouTube or any of the podcast platforms, et cetera. Lauren, absolutely wonderful having you today.
It's great being with you, Mark. And
I wish you the best. I'm grateful that you're on the other side of some health challenges, and I am hoping that that's going to continue to be the case moving forward, because we've certainly all had at some level or another health challenges in our lives. It's just part of that process. And again, as those gray hairs start popping in, then off we go. But really terrific having you, and I wish you all the best and all the success.
And same to you, Mark. It's a pleasure working with you.
Terrific. Take care.
Thanks.
You've been listening to Inspiring Business with your host, Mark Bullock. Your positive comments, likes, and most importantly, your sharing of this show with others is greatly appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to the Inspiring Business Podcast on whatever platform you prefer. You can catch prior episodes on videosocials.net and on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and all the major podcast platforms.